Hello, hello, and welcome back to Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I am so thankful that you are taking time to share your most valuable resource with us here today. If this is your first time visiting Kim Talks Resilience, this is where I get an opportunity to meet amazing women globally that are in this leadership space. They're speakers, authors, coaches, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and they're willing to step up and say, hey, here I am. This is what I'm doing. And let me share with you some actionable steps in my story of resilience so you can see that you're not alone. So, we are women from around the world speaking to women around the world. Our show today is sponsored by queenofresilience.shop. Queenofresilience.shop. Holiday season's upon us, so if you get a chance, do stop by, check out. There's always some fun things in there. And who doesn't like, a hustle hard kind of shirt to get out there and make you feel like you've got dressed for the day and not just sitting in your pajamas at your computer if you're working from home. So today's guest is Stephanie Olson, and I've had an opportunity to chat with Stephanie before this on her podcast, which is again a resilience podcast speaking with women. So we're going to have all that information in our show notes, and that you're going to go and check out her podcast after this one. Stephanie Olson is an inspirational speaker, an international podcaster, and the CEO of a successful nonprofit organization. Stephanie helps leaders build resilience. Her work on teaching resilience and leadership has inspired people across the United States. Engage your team on the topics such as leadership, trauma, and a toxic workplace, mental health, resilience, and DEI. As a woman of color, a survivor of domestic and sexual violence, and an accomplished CEO, she brings lived experience, research, and humor to help take your team to the next level. As the CEO and founder of a successful nonprofit built from the ground up, Stephanie uses her lived experience and her expertise to help others transform their workforce and team. A speaker for over 20 years and a leader who has transformed a team from toxic to thriving, Stephanie will energize your team in her conversational and humorous style, which she is fun, folks. She is truly fun. Stephanie will inspire and empower. Your team will see life-changing and concrete tools to grow as a leader. So we all know that we're in fourth quarter here. So when better to start those new habits to make next year your best year ever. So welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you, Kim. I'm glad to be here. I love it.
I am, super excited. Just so you know, I'll be couch surfing in 2024, and Stephanie's already offered me her
That's
couch.
right. Yes, I know. I
See?
have a comfortable couch. I'll give you a bed, but you wanted a couch. So,
Yeah,
yes.
I got to do a couch, or at least take a selfie on a couch.
Okay.
I'm getting pretty old. Maybe I'll take the bed. Uh,
Yeah.
Stephanie, let's just dive right in. I'd love for you to share the background as to who you are, where you're at, that type of thing, and give us a little pre-frame as to why the story is so significant within your world.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I am the walking definition of resilience, and I love that. And I really believe we all are, but I am a woman who came from abuse and watched my mom escape a very abusive relationship and grew into a great family, but one that couldn't really heal those hurts of the trauma that I experienced early on, and really worked through a lot of that, lived a lot of trauma, grew up with sexual violence, moved into domestic and sexual violence, and it just a lot of stuff. But today, I am a mom of three amazing children, have a supportive husband, and today I'm walking in my destiny. And I think that is the bottom line of what resilience is, that you can take what went wrong and make it amazing stuff. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, and I think this is why we connected on so many levels.
Yeah,
Mom of three, and having, being blessed to have a supportive partner, because I,
right.
I know I know what the other side feels like.
I do too. It's not
So
good.
no, it's not. It's not. So walk us through what you do. So
Yeah,
and I know that you're multi-pronged here because you have your nonprofit. So let's tackle that
few
next.
hats,
But I
yes.
want you to walk through your leadership coaching and how you are of service for companies.
Absolutely. So, I have a Stephanie Olson Speaking and Consulting is my business, and I love, love, love to talk to corporations and nonprofits about all of the stuff that I've learned myself. I personally started two nonprofits and have really learned about leadership and how to take a toxic team. I know that was in my bio, but really how to take a toxic team and really make it a team that is doing incredible work, is thriving both personally and professionally, and how to really empower a group of people to be strong leaders in the workforce. And I think that is the key of what needs to be happening today. And so I do a lot of trainings. I talk on topics such as diversity, equity, inclusion, but also multi generational conversations in the workplace, how we have those conversations, and how we can take, kind of, it sounds weird, but embrace our own toxic stuff and then move through it to be strong leaders and then teach your staff how to do the same.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, great. Love that.
Put you on the spot. We're going to dive right in. I want
Okay.
can you give us, if I have a team, right?
Mhm.
And because of the resignation generation, we
Yeah.
know that if you have a good team member, they are, it's like, being from the Midwest, you're going to know this, hen's teeth,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And we all know hens do not have teeth. I'm not sure where this saying came from, but my grandmother, it's as rare as hen's teeth. But um,
Love it.
we know that talent is
Yeah.
so incredibly valuable, and yet at the rate at we're in like hyper speed with the way we have to treat our workspaces.
Yeah.
What are three actions that a team leader
Mhm.
or a company CEO could do that can connect with their team?
Yeah. I would say number 1, model what you want. I was talking to a group. Do you want the actions? Boom, boom, boom.
No, I want you
Okay,
to give us
perfect.
I
Perfect,
want you to
perfect.
share with us how we can actually implement
Yeah,
what it is
absolutely.
and what we have to
Great.
implement.
I was talking to a team about the concern with always being available because of this, the cell phone. We're always available. We have our emails, we have our texts, and how do we get our work place as a whole to respect boundaries in those areas. And we as leaders need to model what it is that we expect. And so, one of the things I tell my staff all of the time, I may be working late. And if I am, I may email you because I need it to go from here, my head, to the computer and out. That means that I am working late. That does not mean you are working late. That does not mean you need to respond to me. This is just my way of getting it out of my head. Now, what I won't do after hours is text you unless it is an absolute emergency. And on the same token, I won't respond to texts. And unless you have an emergency, that is kind of a sacred space. And so I think we have to model that. We can't be bombarding our staff with out of workspace time and expect them to respond. So modeling, that's just one example of what we model. We want to model all of those things. If we expect that our workplace environment is free from yelling and ranting, and we can't do that either. And so I would say that's the number one action step. Model what you want from your staff. Number two is make sure that you are putting your staff ahead of all of the things. Now, there's that is kind of a tricky one because there's certain times when we can and when we can't. But if we are not treating our staff, one of the things I always say is you have incredible value that no one can take away. If we are not treating our staff that way, if we're only treating our clients that way, we will not have a staff. And so, although we all need to be business minded and company minded first, it's for the organization, it's for the company. If we are not empowering our staff by treating them with incredible value, they won't be there. And so that is the number two action step, making sure that you actually care about your staff. That is a
Yep.
huge thing. The third one is consistent training and coaching. That is something that is so important. One of the things I always say is that when we have an evaluation for our staff, they should never be surprised at anything on that because there should be consistent coaching throughout the week. And we do a weekly, we call it Cora. It's an acronym. I don't know acronyms. I have to look at it every time. But it's talking about communication, it's talking about obstacles, responsibilities, and accountability and action steps. I actually did it.
You did
So
it.
I did. So every week we go through these things. And one of the final questions that I ask is, what do you need from me? And having that conversation on a weekly basis, and although it can seem redundant, and I'm going to ask you the same thing again, it allows for them to open up and have a conversation with you about some of the obstacles they are facing, the things that they are doing that are difficult, and the things they need help with. And then I know this kind of aligns with three. I know you said three, but one of the things I know I'm bad at that. One of the things though that we do at our meetings, and I absolutely love this, is we do what is called a proud moment. And I stole this from a coach that I interviewed on my podcast, and Alyssa Coxon, she was amazing. But one of the things she said was doing a proud moment. So what we do is we say, okay, Kim, my proud moment for last week is for Kim. And Kim did this and she was amazing and this is what happened and that's my proud moment. And then Kim's turn is to say, my proud moment is for, and it is just great. And what is so fun is usually they can't stop. We're going to keep going and it's just a real
It
encourager.
gets people out of that tunnel vision.
It sure does.
Gets them
Yes.
out of that
Yes.
silo, because a lot of us work
Yes.
within our silo, and we have all this crap that goes on
Yep.
in our head, and, you start getting a very warped kind
Yes.
of view as to what reality is.
Exactly.
Um, I do wanna tackle the word redundancy. I've had something come up in my world as of late, and it's put a very different view on
Mm.
redundancy, and it's the word iteration. So if
Mm.
you iterate something over and over and over, you can get to success. You can get to as
Yes.
close to perfection as you're gonna get.
Yes.
And redundancy and iteration are actually synonyms,
Yeah,
right? Synonyms, yes. However, redundancy has a negative
it does,
connotation,
and it
and most
shouldn't.
people have to look up the word iteration.
Mhm. That's good. I love that. Yes.
So, but iteration. So iterating your way to success,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is it's a term I heard from a big coach,
I love that.
like
Love that.
Marisa Murgatroyd. I'm taking a lot of what she's listening to, a lot of
Mm,
what she's doing, and this is a coach that she works from. And folks, I'm not looking for controversy here, just using a word, but she uses a lot of tribe based, so
mhm,
value
mhm.
based attraction versus that expertise or niche
Yeah.
based attraction. So there's two different things, right? You got your
Yep,
niche
yep,
and your value, right?
yep.
Niche is I don't have to like you to learn from you.
That's right.
Value is, you know, I'm putting who I am within what I'm serving.
Right, right,
And I
right.
think that we're seeing more of that value base coming out.
Well,
I,
yeah,
I,
it's true.
yeah,
I was
I
just
don't
gonna
know. Is there a better word than tribe? I don't know. Like I just, the vibe of your tribe. I mean, but I
yeah,
know here in Canada, it's a very very controversial a
yeah,
term.
yeah, yeah.
However, it does, just so people know, the origin of tribe actually goes back to the Viking days. Just so you know.
That's right. Well,
Um,
here's what I would say, it takes 7 times to hear something in order to get it. So if
yeah,
you think you're gonna grab a hold of something the first time you hear it, you're just not. It takes 7 times. It also takes 21 days to build a habit. So
yeah.
doing things over and over again just create that habit, positive or negative, and that's why it's so important. That's why it's important to tell your team over and over again how amazing they are, what they've done well, how they've done it well, and I think those are critical pieces.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I want to dive just a quick moment into training. So
Mhm,
we're seeing this. I mean, pre-COVID, most cities were sitting at like 95% SME, so
mhm,
small medium enterprise.
mhm,
However, post-COVID, we're seeing a lot of cities riding that 99.2%. So we're seeing a lot of these major corporations
mhm,
are I don't want to say losing ground because
mhm.
let's not undermine the major corporations. However, we've had this whole local shops, social kind of
Yep,
initiative come up, and people had to get really creative during COVID. And this is starting to have this kind of ripple effect within our
right.
cities when it comes to it. If I only have a few, a few staff, and the reality
Mhm.
is, and let's talk turkey here, folks.
Yeah,
I know personally that if you have a small, medium business and you are coming through COVID, you
mhm,
have probably not paid yourself adequately.
yeah,
You're probably, a lot of people who are over 40 are working within the constraints of technology.
mhm.
And you know that you need to scale because if you're not scaling, what is your business doing? It's dying.
Correct,
These are
correct.
realities.
Yep, yep.
So, getting coaching, when we think coaching, hiring a coach, we're
Mhm.
thinking tens of thousands of dollars, and this may not be in a budget. What are some of the ways that small, medium enterprise can start implementing the training and coaching at a cost effective opportunity until they can scale? Do coaches come in different levels? Is there different opportunities out there? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. There and so many things to my mind. So, yes, coaches come in different levels. There are different, there's different I mean, you're certainly there's going to be the $100,000 coach, right? But there's also going to be the coaches that have an affinity for the small business or nonprofit or want to help and work on kind of a sliding scale. That is a great opportunity. Just have to find those people, and but we have to remember too that coaching today doesn't have to be in person. I mean, back in the day when we had a coach, we had to bring them to our workplace where we were all together, and that isn't the case. So we can get coach from, I mean, internationally, And that can really help with the fee structure. Um, I think it's also important to remember there are those things called books. Do you remember those? They have pages and stuff like that. There are some incredible, incredible books on leadership, on building a team that you can do as almost a book study with your team. So everybody reads a chapter and then you come together. Now, here's what I will say: you may not to invest finances if you are a small business leader, but you have to invest time. You have
Yep.
to invest time in your staff, in growing them, and in leading them to the next level. That's not easy to do. And if you are a small business owner, you're probably doing a lot of it yourself. But
Mhm.
that time that you invest in your staff is long term and
Yep.
is going to leave the legacy that you need. So I think there's a lot of opportunities with books and studies that way. But YouTube, I mean, let's face it, YouTube has a lot of stupid stuff, right? But a lot of incredible knowledge out there with coaches and leaders. And so finding those resources that aren't going to cost an arm and a leg, but that do some of those incredible things that you need done with your team.
I 100% agree that there resources are out there.
Yep.
I mean, how do you get the Olympics? You always have to coach. Every
Yeah, right.
every coach, every person I've spoken to that is actually moving forward in their business has a coach. And these
Literally
coaches,
everyone.
everyone,
Yeah,
everyone. I have
yeah,
yet to meet somebody who is pushing to the next level without somebody.
yep.
Um, Erica Weeb, who is one of my favorite people here in Calgary and in Canada, truly an amazing human being. She is a gold medalist female wrestler,
Love that.
and the coach she went to the Olympics with, that she won her gold medal in Rio, was smaller, and she could definitely take this dude because she's running around with her gold medal, the flag, and him on her shoulders. You
That's
know,
fabulous. I love that.
sometimes somebody doesn't have to, sometimes it's learn, they shine. It's that side door coaching, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes you learn just through observing. Sometimes
right.
they're able to identify and see things where you could actually excel. And in small
Yeah,
businesses, we can't expect our staff to have the same passion and drive
no.
for our business. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is
Yes.
that these small business owners, um, they hire somebody in and that person's not doing as much as them, so then they feel like they're not, and the reality is they're not going to.
They're not, and they're not gonna have that same drive and same passion. That is just this may just be a job for them, and you know what? That's okay. And so it's learning how to lead someone in that way, coach them in that way, understanding they have no desire to take over your business when you move on. And so I think that is an excellent point that you make, Kim, because we have this expectation that everybody is going to perform the way we do, look at it the way we do, and it's just not the
It's
case.
not going to happen.
Yep.
Not going to
Yep.
happen, folks.
Yep.
I personally have had
Yeah.
I personally have gone through this, and
Yeah.
have been personally disappointed, and really the disappointment was not into the under the other individual. They
Nope.
did what they were hired for.
Exactly.
Part of it comes in leadership. A lot of us are great doers. We're not great delegators.
Yes.
And yeah, I
Yes.
do
Yep.
want to dive a bit into your nonprofit. I want to talk a little bit about this. I hear a lot of people talking about, I'm going to set up a nonprofit. Now,
Don't.
I have I have I have actually said this myself, yet I have said I'm not doing this unless I have a partner that is an expert in this,
Mhm.
because I think it's opening a lot of issues,
Mhm.
up. Walk me through your nonprofit, what you have as a nonprofit, and the kind of the three key things that you learned along the way.
Only 3? I can
Only
only talk about 3? Oh my gosh. Well, so my nonprofit nonprofit is called the Set Me Free Project, and we do prevention education on human trafficking, social media safety, and healthy relationships. And so we actually have a curriculum from kindergarten through college age for youth, and we go into the schools with that curriculum. We train educators, counselors, social workers on how to give that curriculum to their students and really make a difference on protecting those youth as to what trafficking really looks like, what it doesn't, and how they can stay safe. And then we educate personally. We love to educate via webinars and in person industries of every facet of the community because, of course, medical, law enforcement, all those places see human trafficking, but so do salons, so do coffee shops. So that is what we do. And we definitely talk to youth and parents about social media safety and healthy relationships because they're all linked.
Mhm.
But I would say that when so interestingly enough, I'm not sure I had a passion for human trafficking per se or countering it. I had a passion for youth, and I had personally been working in the area with women in sexual and domestic violence and addiction. And I had been speaking to youth on healthy relationships going into the schools. What I realized is there were a lot of great things happening in the area of human trafficking, counter trafficking. So, on the recovery, on the restoration side, on the reactive side, but no one was preventing it. Nobody was talking to the targets of the trafficker. And that's really how I got started. I saw a need and I filled it. But what benefited me as a nonprofit CEO, and I think this is the key, I was more business minded than passionate. And you have to have those 2 things. This is why this is my consulting piece. When I consult nonprofits. And how do you set up a nonprofit? Should you even start a nonprofit? What does that look like? What's your passion? What do we do with that? Because so many people are passionate about a topic.
Yeah,
I'm a domestic violence survivor. I am not anyone who should start a domestic violence shelter. That's not what I should be
correct.
doing. And so many people think, I'm passionate about this topic. I'm going to do this. And that's great. But you have to have a tremendous amount of education. And now I'm not talking necessarily even schooling, I'm talking about education on best practices, education on trauma, all of those things that
Oh,
are involved in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and tax code and
Oh, and the
like
legalities.
the
Exactly.
legalities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Because
you're
it's,
working with vulnerable people.
yes,
Most charities are situated around the vulnerable.
absolutely. The vulnerable, the marginalized. Yes. So you
Yes,
gotta know what you're doing.
absolutely. I mean, and
Yeah.
I've thought about it, but I come at it from a business side of things because
Yep.
I've done 22 years of real estate. And I'm like going, I don't want to counsel any of these people. I
Yeah.
just know that I need to set up a space so the right people can come in and counsel.
Oh, I
And
love
it's
that.
like, I need to know how to make money and make sure it floats because nothing is worse. And I've seen this personally. Somebody starts a nonprofit, you get a couple families engaged,
Mm.
you're serving people, they come to count on you, and you can't keep the doors open the next year because you're
I
constantly
yeah.
out selling the concept.
I
Talk
think
to me a little
most
bit around the
nonprofits.
money.
Yeah, I think most nonprofits fail within 5 years. And I do think there's this mindset in nonprofits that, well, everybody is going to be so passionate about what I'm doing. They're just going to give, give, give. And
Mm-mm.
that doesn't happen.
No.
And I'm a prevention organization. Nobody funds prevention. That's not sexy. That's not exciting. And so what you really need to do, you need a business plan. A nonprofit is a business. And so you really do have to think about it as that. And so create a business plan, create a strategic plan, and really take a look at how am I going to sustain this long term?
Yeah.
Because you need to diversify your funds. That's extremely important. I have seen so many nonprofits who count on one grant and then they're gone, or one amazing angel funder and then they're gone. But if you have one person who is funding your entire nonprofit, if they say jump, you better jump. And so
Yeah.
you need to diversify those funds, make sure that you're getting it from individual donors, getting it from private grants, getting it from maybe federal and state grants, fundraisers, those types of things. But one of the most important things I think a nonprofit can do, and this sounds so counterintuitive, but you need to find an income stream. So,
Mhm.
what is
Yep.
it with your nonprofit that you can actually sell to provide that income stream so it is consistent?
Yep. And that's where, and I can't believe how many people I talk to who have like produced an amazing book
Mhm.
and they're going, what next? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, your book is a course. If your book
Yes.
is truly valid, you need to now go the next step. You need to have your CTA. And folks, if you don't know what a CTA is, you probably should need to find a job. Right? Do not try and create your own job, because in this world is
Yeah,
based on voices of authority.
that's right.
And it doesn't matter if I think I think we're going to see the influencer thing go by the way of the dodo birds, because the influencer thing honestly is very hollow. It's who
Yeah,
looks best on
it
social
is.
media.
It
It
is.
is very perceptive. It doesn't have any depth to it.
Not
Now there are some
reality.
smart influencers
Mhm.
that have been able to put a solid CTA, then built a solid membership basis and had a
Mhm.
solid course. They may not have developed the course, but they knew what they needed to do because the
Right.
writing's on the wall. We are moving into the we are in the age of knowledge,
Yep.
right? We're out of the industrial age, folks. We are in the
Yep.
age of knowledge. And those who can speak up from a knowledgeable and authoritative space
Mhm.
are the ones. And you can't be knowledgeable and authoritative if you're leading with emotion. And I think this is where,
Yep.
y-
You're right.
and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying, because I am the queen of resilience. I really am. And I am very emotional when I step on the scale and I go, I have got to get to the gym. But, or when I look at my bank account and go, what?
Yeah, that's
What?
when I get emotional. That's when yes. Yeah, you can't
So,
go
yeah,
ahead.
keep going. No,
No,
you
I
go.
I just love this. I love this because I have seen so many people just fall apart because of that emotion piece. And I'm not even
Yep.
talking about fall apart emotionally, but you can't sustain that. If
Yep.
you want to have a nonprofit and you are the emotional piece behind it, you are the passionate one, then you need to hire an executive director. And
And you better have the money. Don't expect somebody come and do
oh,
something for
no,
you for
no.
free.
And
Yeah.
they're not gonna have the passion. But you know what? They don't need to. This is where it gets really
Hmm.
confusing for people. They don't need to have the passion because they have the business mind. And
Exactly.
so I've heard people say, "But I need somebody as passionate." No, you're not gonna find that person. Hire somebody who is business minded so that you can lead the passionate. But so many people like, "No, but I want the glory. I wanna be the executive director. I wanna." You don't. You
Then you're
don't.
not in it for the right
You're
reason.
not in it for the right reasons.
You're
Yep.
not in it for the right reason. If you're not in it to serve the purpose
Correct.
of who you're trying to help up and
Yeah.
elevate,
Yeah.
uh, then it's not for the right
And
reason.
you may not be the best person to lead the organization, and that's what you need to find out, which is why I counsel for lack of a better word, go serve at a nonprofit that you are interested in. Don't reinvent the wheel. If there is already a nonprofit doing this and they're doing it well and they're serving the community, don't start another one unless there is a need for another
Yeah.
one. Go volunteer, go work for them, find out what they're doing, and then go from there. I think that's another important piece, which is why I always start with, "You wanna start a nonprofit? Don't."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Know what you're stepping into. Let's. This is the part where we're going to get into speaking of modeling it, right?
Mhm.
I would
Mhm.
like you to
Great. You're gonna ask me to
share.
model.
Yeah, I want you to share your story of resiliency, that
Yeah.
without that moment of resiliency in your life, you would not be here having this conversation.
Yeah.
And folks, before we get into it, hold on. Be sure that if you're enjoying this conversation, like, subscribe, comment, and share. I just like to throw that right in the middle of the show, folks.
Love
Please
that.
like, subscribe, comment, and share. All right, Stephanie, I want that moment.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about regret the other day and how many things in our life that, oh my gosh, I regret that I did that. I regret that I did that. But we need to learn how to move from regret to renewal. I think that's a really important thing. And when we're talking about something like our life and we're talking about trauma, maybe, or we're talking about, if we're talking about something like nonprofit, that's what it's all about. I could regret everything that went on in my life, but I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I was born out of abuse, had a very abusive physically, very abusive biological father who my mom escaped when, I was only a year old. So I didn't even see the abuse consciously, like, I don't remember any of it. But that trauma that affects our life from 1 to 5 is so critical that at those kind of things that happen to our development, it is overwhelmingly critical. And it was a very traumatic childhood. My mom escaped that relationship with we lived with my grandparents for some time until my mom met and married my dad who adopted me, which was wonderful. But the abandonment of my biological father was so strong. I was own father doesn't love me, I must not be very lovable. If my own father doesn't think I have worth, I must not be worth anything. And so that really that trauma revisited me all of my life, and I went through years of eating, trying to take control. I became an alcoholic, just really trying to numb that pain. I spent a lot of time in really unhealthy and bad relationships. And through some of that, I went through sexual violence where I was raped several times between high school and college. And it is overwhelming what those things can do, even if and this is what's so fascinating, even if you don't even recognize it to be what it is. And then I married a very abusive man and through some physical, but mostly a lot of emotionally and verbally abuse. And then, by the grace of God, I was able to come through that. Met and married my current husband, who's amazing, and went through a journey of healing from the eating disorders, healing from the addictions, and healing from that trauma and pain, but it was out of that that I started doing what I'm doing, and I started years ago, I started another profit early on that was really, very specific towards women and sexual and domestic violence, um, and just really living a life that is victorious, living a life that is a life that recognizing your own value, your own worth, and not finding it in a human being, not finding it in that person. So it is through that trauma that I'm doing what I'm doing today. If it had not been for that, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
And what an amazing, they say our greatest challenge can be our greatest strength, right? It's
Absolutely.
everything is double sided, right? So
Yep.
when we look at
Yep.
a coin, you've got two sides to every coin. And you look at a sword, you got two
Yeah.
edges, right? So
Mhm.
the reality is that we're not going through life with a butter knife, folks. We're out there with our machetes trying to figure this
Yes.
out. And you've
Yes.
got your yin and your yang, and you've got, we've got the space that we should be in, which is that space of gratitude and
Yeah.
yet we allow the garbage to derail us,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, it is interesting. And right now, folks, do not beat yourself up if you're feeling a little dysregulated, because the definition of dysregulation is fear, uncertainty, and no end in sight. And
Mhm.
we have just come out of globally
Yeah.
3 years of global dysregulation. Um, so, every day is a fresh day. Every day you take a
Yes.
breath is another opportunity, and
And I
give
think it's a
yourself grace.
yes, that is it. I think it's important to recognize that we all have trauma. We all experience it. Big T, little
Even
t,
our
we all.
children, no matter
Yes.
how hard we try, even our kids will be in therapy going, my mom this and my mom
Hey,
that.
I always said we need to save for a college fund and a therapy fund at the same time. I mean, that's just really important to do. Yes, we have to do those things. But we all have trauma and we need to not only, I always say we need to embrace it, which sounds ridiculous, but we really do. We need to look at it, acknowledge it. Yes, this is part of who I am or was or whatever, and then move through it. And
Absolutely.
that is so key.
Absolutely. All
Yeah.
right. Rapid round books. You are recently a published author. Share with us the book that you have published,
Mhm.
and give us a little insight as to your journey to becoming published.
Um, yes. So I do have a book called What Are You Waiting For? Jesus is Passing By. What Are You Waiting For? So it's a faith based book, very much about my story and my life and just really how I got through that. And then I also have a book called Inviting in Him, and it's just kind of about devotional time and prayer time that I wrote with several other people. I love to write, and I think writing is kind of like therapy, and I don't get to do it enough. And I really, that was all I had written several segments of things about me and realized, hey, you know what? I can put this together. And that's really how my journey of becoming a published author began. I'm in the process of writing a couple of other books, and one of those is a book on human trafficking, specifically for parents and how to talk to your kiddos and what that looks like. And then on trauma and working through our own traumas. So those are a couple others that are in the works right now.
Awesome. And with Amazon opening up and the opportunities of self publishing, the greatest challenge is just getting the word out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that is the greatest challenge. And that's where these types of platforms and now access to Newswire when it comes to press releases and so many things,
Mhm.
right? So there's
Yep.
so many opportunities out there getting the word out. And the beauty of this is that the public, which you're always on one side of the coin. You're either the
Yeah.
public or the personality, right? One of
Yep,
the side,
yep.
one or the other. And we're always, in both spaces, most if you're doing a book or something like that.
Yeah.
But the beauty of this is the public no longer is relegated to a few
Mhm.
leaders. They now have many leaders that they can find
Right.
the voice they align with. And that's the beauty. And I
I love
and I
that.
encourage everybody out there, find a voice. It doesn't have to be the biggest influencer on
Yeah,
Instagram. Find the voice that speaks to you. And
right.
remember, as you grow, you will be finding different people and different voices that fit within that space of your life and
Mhm.
can help you level up and
I
then
love
go
it.
to the next. So it's always that hand up, right? Where can people find you, Stephanie? Can you walk us through your socials?
Yes, I would love to. Well, the best place to find everything is my website at stephanieolson.com. And that you can find all of my socials. I'm on Facebook. Stephanie Olson Speaking is another place you can find me with Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all the things. And so that's the best place to find me. If you're looking for my nonprofit, that is setmefreeproject.net. You can also find that on my stephanieolson.com website. But I am really just everywhere. LinkedIn, find me.
Yeah, LinkedIn's my
I
favorite
love
place
LinkedIn. Yep.
also. They do a really good job over there keeping things balanced. I
Yes.
have to give the LinkedIn crew a credit there.
Yes.
Um, what is a book that everybody should, or what is a, quote that inspires you? We already did books,
Yes.
sorry.
So we were talking about quotes and we were talking about Walt Disney quotes and I actually have several. And so and he is I just love quoting Walt Disney because he's got so many quotes because he you know
Yep,
suffered and came back. But I found this quote, and I'm not sure if this is the quote. I don't think this is the one I shared with you, but
that's
this
okay.
is one of my favorites too. Everyone falls down. Getting back up is how you learn to walk. That's Walt Disney. And I
Wow.
think that is fantastic because and that's what resilience is. We all fall down. We are not arrived. And and when you think about a toddler who is learning to walk, they're going to fall down over and over again, but then they get back up and they walk. And it's just this process, this journey of growth. And that's what it is for us all of the time. We are going to be we're going to be doing great. Things are going well. Boom, we fall down. It's the getting back up that makes us resilient.
And the more you do it, folks, the easier it is to get back up,
Yeah. Yep.
or the faster you will ask for help.
Yes.
You know, the
Yes.
faster you release the shame
Yeah.
and you embrace those who do believe in you and do support you,
Yeah.
the faster you move forward.
Absolutely. Shame is a real thing, and I was talking to someone last week about it, and I was like, "I just don't have time for shame. Just don't
Yep.
have time for shame."
And Brene Brown made an entire career on
Yeah.
how to release your shame, folks. So
Yes, she did.
it's not just us talking about this. So, again, folks, it is simply model it. So, model it, communication, expectations, set that up front, prioritizing your staff. And I know this can be
Mhm.
hard because this is a chicken and egg kind of thing, but I know you got to do your job, but make sure that they know that they are
Yeah.
seen, heard,
Mhm.
and valued. This is what people
Yes.
truly want. And coach up. Coach up. If you don't have money to hire a coach, get some great books. A really great one is Bob Burg's Go Giver.
Mm.
It helps everybody understand that when we're having a conversation, we're having conversations over here, we're having conversations over here, and there's more to this conversation than
Yes.
what we're hearing, seeing, or delivering. And as soon as we understand that, we can step out of the silo, out of the echo chamber, and we can move forward together. You got this. You got this. Stephanie, thank you so much for
Thank
joining me
you.
today.
I loved
Uh,
it.
Excellent. You know what, folks? This is it for me today. It's Kim Hayden with Kim Talks Resilience. And if you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging just that wee little bit, be sure to listen and lean into our resilient community. And you can pop over to resilientgift.com, resilientgift.com. And you can get free magazines. You can get notified when these podcasts are dropping. If we're doing any type of events like our upcoming February event for resilient women in business and life that you want to get a free ticket for, you're going to find it all there at theresilientgift.com. And we will never charge you no sneaky renewal fees. It is literally, this is my gift to you. I want to thank you for sharing your time. All right. So until next time, check us out, resilientgift.com. I'm Kim Hayden. Thank you.